What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. So, as you might have seen by the title, Coogan Cassius has responded to the allegations that he has been touched by El Trapahan, otherwise known as Daniel Kinahan. Daniel El Trapahan Kinahan. Let me, in fact, you know what? Before we go into what Coogan said, let me give you, man, the overall, because obviously there'll be a certain amount of man who don't really understand what's been going on right now. Billy Ho Saunders got washed. Yeah, no doubt. He got washed and he jacked in the corner. Immediately after the fight, Mark Tibbs, his trainer at the time, did an interview with 3 different people. Ifltv, which is Coogan Cassius, Behind the Gloves, Michelle the Fire Phelps, and Radio Raheem, seconds out. They all posted more or less the same time, immediately after the fight. Within an hour after the fight, their post-fight interviews with Mark were out. Mark said consistently the same theme. He said, listen, Billy came back to the corner, and I said, are we going to go out for another round? And he said, no more. Mark insisted, you know what? Can you give me another round, son? Because you've been talking a big game. Can you give me one more? Just one more. That's what a fighter would do. One more. Billy said, no more. Mark said, end of the day, ultimately, he won't give me the right signs for him to do another round. He won't give me the right signals. I won't get the right feels from him. Anyway, that interview obviously was pretty damning on Billy Ho. The whole controversy's been, did Billy Ho jack or not? Now, the narrative from Eddie Hearn and whatnot's been, it was Mark that pulled him out. It was Mark that pulled him out. Mark, immediately after in his post-fight interview, made it clear. Billy weren't giving me the right signs. Billy was telling me he can't see. Now, anyone who knows even a little bit about, anyone who knows even a little piece about boxing knows that the minute you mention you can't see, it's all more or less game over at that point. No fighter who wants to carry on, number 1, mentions they can't see, and number 2, doesn't protest. The bare minimum. If you want to carry on, you say, give me another round. That's like the top quote to give. If your trainer's unsure, you say, coach, give me one more round to prove myself. Give me one more. That's the bare bones. Now, never mind Billy couldn't offer, give me another round. That's the bare... Billy could have said, can you give me another round? Never mind that. The trainer had to offer that. Does that make sense? There's a key difference there. Mark had to say to Billy, can I put you out there for another round? Which is never the right thing. A trainer really should never be having to say that. The fighter should be the one offering that kind of response. Billy didn't offer nothing. Mark was the one sitting there feeling awkward, and he even said himself he felt frustrated at Billy. He felt frustrated at the fact that Billy had talked a good game and had been training hard and jacked and didn't try and get the most out of himself. Mark was frustrated that Billy wouldn't dare get the most out of himself. Yeah? Obviously, having heard what I've just explained to you, man, it wasn't looking good. It wasn't looking good for Billy Joe Saunders. It wasn't looking good for the brand. It wasn't looking good for Daniel El Trapahan Kinahan. So anyway, Mark Tibbs comes out, puts them fiery interviews out there. 2-2s within 24 to 48 hours. The interviews collectively, Ifltv, Behind the Gloves, seconds out, disappeared, gone. And with their interviews disappearing, also other weird and suspect and spooky cabal things started happening. For example, Mark Tibbs disappears, don't no one know where he is. Starts not turning up for interviews, not turning up for podcasts, cancelling podcast gigs, cancelling training gigs. This stuff that's unparalleled. Real spooky stuff starts going on. So in response to this, finally someone could listen, me and other people, me and other not blue tickers, have been trying to get at seconds out, trying to get at everyone. What happened to the interview? We want to know where the Mark Tibbs interview went. It disappeared. Along with Mark himself. Yeah, Mark Tibbs is now a word in its own right. Mark Tibbs. Yeah, don't get Mark Tibbs, because you're missing right now. That's what we do know. Mark Tibbs himself is missing, and Mark Tibbs' post-fight interviews are missing. The interviews got Mark Tibbs, no doubt. So we were saying, me and other non-blue tick dons were saying to Coogan, Coogie Bear, Coogie, you big bubbly don, what happened to the interview? Obviously, he didn't respond to none of us. Him and the Trapahan cartel weren't saying nothing. 2-2s. It's the problem, you see. You can only ignore people without a blue tick. When you got a blue tick, it brings attention to it. It puts it out publicly. Yeah? So some next blue tick Don sees my video exposing the fact the interviews have gone, and he comes through and says to Coogan, sticks it on Coogan, Coogan, why did the Tibbs interview get taken down? Seems a little spooky. Especially when Mark Tibbs himself is kind of missing as well, if the truth be known. At the moment, if in the whole truther circle, the whole debate is, who's more missing? Mark's interviews or himself or the person? Do you know what I'm saying? It's one of them ones. Some people think it's the interviews that are more missing. I personally think Mark himself is more missing. Yeah? Not even a bit has he been seen. No doubt. Anyway, Coogan responded. The reason why Mark Tibbs' interviews was removed is because I was respectfully asked to remove the interview by Mark Tibbs himself. Thank you. This is so shocking. So shocking of a response. Do you know why it's so shocking of a response? Because Mark Tibbs now come out. Again, after seeing my interview, after the El Trapahan cartel saw my video, exposing the fact that Mark Tibbs is missing, they quickly wheeled him out of the basement and told him, listen, and it's the thing, people say, oh, YB, what are you talking about? Have you, man, not seen them interviews? You know, when a journalist gets captured, what do? Yeah, they wheel him out for interviews, so don't give me that. Like, oh, YB, obviously Mark's not missing, because look, he's done a video. What, have you not seen them once? A journalist or an army man gets captured, they always wheel him out on an interview. So don't let me give me that, I'm not interested in it. We want to know where Mark, yeah? And some 2-minute interview ain't enough for me, because we've seen them ones before. All them journalist dons do them ones. Next thing you know, their head's coming off, or whatever else. That's the bottom line. So yeah? Anyway, listen. Where was we? Yeah, because I was respectfully asked to remove the interview by Mark Tibbs himself. And you notice that he emphasises Coogan, otherwise known as Shilligan Cassius, yeah, he emphasises himself. Do you know why he does that? Because guess what? I came out, the truth teller, the YB came out, Julian YB came out, yeah? Listen, Julian YB came out and told you, man, El Trapahan, yeah, Daniel Trapahan Kinahan is the one who's been doing the most behind the scenes, putting orders in, touching people. Yeah? Do you think it's a coincidence? Mark don't touch no one. Since when, for example, if it was Mark Tibbs, yeah, how many times has Mark Tibbs asked to remove an interview? How many times? You tell me. Never. Mark Tibbs ain't one of them kind of guys. He speaks cleanly. He speaks, as they say, plainly. Speak plainly. He speaks plainly. He's not a tongue twister. He's not a Ben Davidson who just all over the place loose. Mark Tibbs is consistent and speaks plainly. He speaks his mind. And if you actually watch the interview, he's very careful. He says, in fact, you know what, I don't want to get into what's said. So it's not like he was on there and he was going mad and it's all loosey-goosey. And in fact, it's not even that. There was 3 interviews. So he had 3 cracks at it. No one goes mad 3 different occasions. Fair enough, alright, you know what? That interview, I didn't really like that one. Get rid of that one, please. All 3 of them gone. So, like I was saying, Mark Tibbs speaks plainly. And on that basis, he's recently come out again now, almost a week later, and clarified exactly the same thing he said in the interviews. Almost word for word. Now again, a week later. So for Coogan to sit here and say, oh, yeah, Mark asked me to remove him makes no sense. Because Mark's just reiterated what he said a week ago, which proves it was someone else. It proves it weren't Mark. Because if it was Mark, guess what? If it was Mark would have changed his tune, wouldn't he now? Why would you delete interviews that you're only going to go on to repeat yourself? And actually, if you listen to Mark's interview, he really does double down on what he said. It's almost like, yeah, you no word ever lie. Listen to how almost aggressive Mark Tibbs is now. He's like literally he's tripling down on what he said. Aggressively, almost implying like why are people removed? Like the way Mark Tibbs is acting now, it's almost as if he's angry people have been censoring what he's trying to say. If that makes sense, because it's almost like he's thinking, wait a minute, why have my interviews been deleted? And that's why he's doubled down. So for him to say for Shilligan and Cassius to say, oh, Mark Tibbs himself asked for it, he emphasises himself because he's trying to get the heat off of your main man, number one Cabaldon. Daniel El Trapahan Kinahan. That's what we do know. He's the one who put the order in. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it directly came from him, because he don't do nothing himself. That's why he never been in jail. He puts, it's a chain of command. El Trapahan don't talk to no one on the phone. He ain't speaking on the phone. Yeah? He ain't doing none of that goofy stuff that you man stay on Instagram and gassing the place. He ain't doing that. He ain't getting caught. He ain't going to jail. Yeah? There's a chain of command. There'll be about probably 10, 15 man, and it's all by whispers in the ear. Because you ain't catching him on no wire. It's as simple as that. No wire, no phones. Whispers. Yeah? No doubt. That's how he be communicating. So end of the day, I'm telling you, man, ultimately, but either way, essentially it's Trapahan Cartel. Trapahan Cartel are the ones who told these dons here, Coogan, get rid of it. It weren't Mark who said it, because if it was Mark, he wouldn't be tripling down on the same thing he said a week ago, would he? Don't make no sense. Oh, delete the interview, and then I'm going to say it myself again anyway. And the way Mark's actually come out and doubled down his aggression in it, he's annoyed himself. He doesn't know why he's having to re-explain what he said. Because he already said it a week ago, but unfortunately, the ones from a week ago got deleted. So he's having to come out. That's why Mark really came out. I spoke to Mark. Mark said, why I can't even lie to you. I'm having to come out and say it again, because these man of El Trapahan got rid of all the ones I said before. I said, wow. Yeah? And that was obviously before he went missing, but end of the day, I can't even disagree with Mark. Yeah? And what I love about this as well from Shilligan and Cassius, he says, oh, thank you, like, he's probably trying to be polite about it. These man don't want heat on them. They don't want no more heat. Too much heat. We know that El Trapahan, he don't like heat. They're trying to lay low. And to be fair to them, it's not, well, I kind of blame myself, to be fair. I do blame myself. I blame myself because there weren't no heat before I came along. Before I came along, everyone else was, oh yeah, no, Billy didn't quit, and yeah, you're right, it was all Mark, and yeah, Mark's right, and Billy's in hospital with 6 different, you know what I'm saying, his metatarsal's been broken, and all this different, you know what I'm saying, no doubt. I come along, dropping the receipts, speaking to inside dons within MTK, within the zone, exposing the whole shadowy cabal, spooky looking asses. Yeah? End of the day, Coogan, you got touched. Nothing wrong with that. We all get touched. Well, what? The YB don't, because I'm moving. Yeah? In fact, let me rephrase what I'm saying. You man who are sloppy, you man who stay in the same place, you get touched. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, Coogan, you're too visible and you got touched. Your face is bait and you got touched. Simple as that. Nothing wrong with that now, Coogan. Shilligan, you got touched. Simple as that. I don't know what we're doing this big swan around for. Well, I do, because we're doing this swan around because he has to. Yeah? El Trapahan has reached out and listen, El Trapahan's got them long hands. Why do you think they call it MTK Global? Yeah, because he can touch you. No matter where you think you are or where you think you went, he's touching you. Coogan got touched. That's what we do know. The hand reached out and touched her. And now you're trying to backtrack and it's Mark and it's himself and thank you and you know what I'm saying? Just come out and be honest. Listen, the truth is, MTK is global and I got touched. Yeah, I got touched and the interview's gone. That's what you have to say. We can read in between the lines. It's not like it's some big, you know what I'm saying? It's not like it's, oh well, that's shocking. No one's going to be shocked hearing you got touched by El Trapahan. Yeah? So, it is what it is. Coogan out here Shilligan, stays doing the most with his shiller mouth, but we know the truth. The truth is, you got touched and the interview's gone. Mark didn't ask to remove nothing. Just be honest with the people. You don't have to name names, just say I got touched and the interview's removed. No doubt. Wow. And just quickly before I go, I wasn't planning on doing this section, but in editing, I've just seen some peak information as well. So, Michelle Joy Phelps also has responded. And she said, yes, I was, and respected Mark's request in response to a don asking her where the interview went. Now, what I find most interesting is the fact that Coogan and Michelle, they both applied at the same time, and also Coogan is there retweeting her response. This again, this coordinated cabal thing. What is this? Same time, same date, retweeting each other's things. What is this? This right here is a coordinated. You've been touched again. That's what the hand does. Do you understand? When the hand reaches out, you best believe it reaches out wholly. He don't miss no spots. Trapper Han reached out and touched both of these dons here. Michelle, the Fire Phelps, and Coogie. And Shilgun. No doubt. Got you, man, looking... It's the thing. Many people, it goes over their head. They can't put the links together. 190 IQ? No problem. It's all linked up nicely. You, man, looking... Like, people say, oh, it's a coincidence. Coincidences aren't all organised. When you see too much organisation, too much ABCD, that there shows the hand. The invisible hand, they call it. Otherwise known as, in this situation, El Trapper Han. Yeah? So, I mean, people say, YB, what's it matter? It don't really matter. I'm just telling you what it is. These guys are way too organised for it to just be, oh, well, you know, we just randomly deleted it and, you know, Mark doesn't know. Mark's been consistent. Mark's the only thing who's consistent. So,